The rain in Hanul City doesn't wash anything clean, it just makes the blood run faster. Amanda Cole learned this at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, barefoot in an alley that smelled like garbage and gasoline, with her husband's men 3 blocks behind her and closing fast. She had 2 choices: die in the gutter like Gareth promised, or crash through the unmarked steel door in front of her and pray whatever was on the other side killed her faster. She chose the door. What she found inside was worse than death. She found Kang Jae-hyuk. And when his cold black eyes locked onto hers, when she grabbed his $1,000 coat with shaking, bloody hands and whispered, "Please, pretend you want me," he didn't hesitate. He kissed her like he owned her. And for the first time in 3 years, Amanda Cole felt safe. The steel door slammed behind her with a sound like a gunshot. 40 pairs of eyes turned toward her at once. The underground club was all red light and expensive whiskey, leather couches and men in suits that cost more than cars. The air smelled like cigars and something darker, something that made the hair on her arms stand up. She was dripping rainwater and blood onto pristine marble floors. Her feet left red prints. Her dress, what was left of it, was torn at the shoulder where Gareth had grabbed her, where his ring had cut into her skin. At the center of it all, on a black leather chair that looked more like a throne, sat the man everyone in Orem Heights feared. Kang Jae-hyuk didn't move. He just watched her with eyes so dark they looked black in the red light. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe 35, with sharp features and a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. His suit was perfectly tailored. His hands were folded in his lap. Everything about him screamed control. "Well," he said, and his voice was gravel and silk. "This is interesting." Behind Amanda, she could hear them. Boots on wet pavement. Shouting. Gareth's voice cutting through the rain. "Find her." She couldn't have gone far. Panic clawed up her throat. She stumbled forward and every man in the room tensed. Hands moved toward jackets. Toward guns. "Please," she gasped. The word came out broken. "My husband, he's going to kill me." Jae-hyuk tilted his head. Studied her like she was a puzzle. "And why is that my problem?" The door behind her rattled. Someone was trying the handle. Amanda's mind went blank with terror. She had nothing to offer this man. No money. No leverage. She was nobody, just a woman stupid enough to marry a monster and even stupider to think she could escape. But she was also desperate. And desperate people do desperate things. She ran to him. Crossed the space between them in 4 staggering steps. His men moved to intercept, but Jae-hyuk raised one hand and they froze. Amanda grabbed his coat. Felt expensive fabric beneath her bloody fingers. She looked into those cold, dark eyes and whispered the only thing she could think of. "Please. Pretend you want me. Just for a minute. He'll kill me if he finds me here." For one terrible second, Jae-hyuk didn't move. Then the door exploded open. 6 men burst in, all of them soaked, all of them angry. Gareth's private security team. The ones who'd helped him keep her locked in the penthouse for 3 years. The ones who'd looked away every time he hit her. The one in front, Marcus, with the scar on his neck, spotted her immediately. "Grab her." They started forward. And Kang Jae-hyuk stood up. He moved like water. One moment he was sitting, the next he was standing in front of Amanda, and the entire energy in the room shifted. It was like watching a lion wake up. "Gentlemen," he said, and his voice carried despite being barely above a whisper. "You're in my club. Uninvited. Dripping water on my floor. Shouting." He paused. "I don't like shouting." Marcus hesitated. Even through her panic, Amanda saw the moment he recognized who he was talking to. His face went pale. "Mr. Kang. We don't want trouble. We're just here for her." Jae-hyuk turned, and suddenly his hand was on Amanda's chin, tilting her face up. His fingers were cold. Gentle. His eyes never left hers as he spoke. "This woman?" "Yes, sir. She's property of Gareth Cole. He wants her back." "Property," Jae-hyuk repeated. Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. Interesting choice of words. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was claiming. Possessive. His hands slid into her wet hair, tilted her head back, and his mouth covered hers with a heat that made her forget how to breathe. Amanda's hands clutched at his coat, and for a second, just a second, the fear disappeared. When he pulled back, his thumb brushed her bottom lip. He looked at Marcus over her head. "Tell Gareth Cole," he said softly, "that he needs to be more careful with his property. Because I just found something that interests me." His arm wrapped around Amanda's waist, pulled her against him. "And I don't give back things that are mine." The silence in the club was absolute. Marcus swallowed hard. "Sir, Mr. Cole will." "Mr. Cole," Jae-hyuk interrupted, "will do nothing. Because Mr. Cole is smart enough to know what happens to people who enter my territory and make demands." He smiled. It was terrifying. "Aren't you Marcus?" Marcus took a step back. Then another. "Who will tell him you have her?" "You do that." They left. Quickly. The steel door slammed behind them, and the sound echoed in the sudden quiet. Amanda's legs gave out. Jae-hyuk caught her before she hit the floor. His arm was solid around her waist, and for a moment she just hung there, shaking so hard her teeth rattled. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, I." "Don't thank me yet," he said. His voice had lost its edge but not its coldness. "You just became very expensive." He lifted her, just picked her up like she weighed nothing, and started walking toward a door at the back of the club. His men parted like water. Nobody spoke. "Where are you taking me?" Amanda's voice cracked. "Somewhere you won't bleed on my floor," Jae-hyuk said. "Try not to pass out. I hate carrying unconscious women. It's so dramatic." Despite everything, Amanda almost laughed. Almost. Then the adrenaline wore off and everything hurt, and the world went soft and gray at the edges. The last thing she remembered was his voice, quiet and cold. "Get the doctor. And find out everything about Gareth Cole. Everything." Amanda woke up in heaven. That was her first thought, anyway, because the bed she was lying in was softer than anything she'd felt in years, and the room was warm, and nothing hurt quite as much as it should have. Then she opened her eyes and saw the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Hanul City at night, the glittering lights of Orem Heights spreading out like diamonds, and she realized she wasn't dead. She was in Kang Jae-hyuk's penthouse. Panic spiked through her. She sat up too fast and immediately regretted it. Her ribs screamed. Her feet, someone had bandaged her feet. "I wouldn't move too quickly." The voice came from the shadows near the window. Jae-hyuk stepped into the light, and Amanda's breath caught. He'd changed clothes. Now he wore black pants and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and without the suit jacket he looked younger. More human. Almost. "The doctor said you have 2 cracked ribs and severe bruising. Also, you were dehydrated and malnourished." He said it clinically, like he was reading a grocery list. "How long has your husband been starving you?" Amanda's throat closed. He just... "Don't lie to me." Jae-hyuk crossed the room and sat in the chair beside the bed. His eyes were just as dark as before, just as cold, but now there was something else there. Something that looked almost like anger. "I pulled your medical records. Gareth Cole took you to the emergency room 4 times in 3 years. Twice for falling downstairs. Once for walking into a door. Once for a car accident." He leaned forward. "Would you like to tell me what really happened? Or should I keep reading?" Amanda looked away. Stared at her hands. They'd cleaned the blood off, but she could still see the faint bruises on her wrists. The marks from where Gareth had grabbed her. Held her down. "He found out," she whispered. "Found out what?" "That I was on birth control." The words came out in a rush. "He wanted a baby. He'd been trying for 2 years and I kept taking the pills in secret. I couldn't bring a child into that house. I couldn't let him." Her voice broke. "He found the pills yesterday. He told me he was going to lock me in a clinic. That he'd make sure I could never leave. That he'd..." She couldn't finish. The memory was too fresh. Gareth's face, twisted with rage. His hands around her throat. The look in his eyes that said he wasn't going to stop this time. "So you ran," Jae-hyuk said. "So I ran." Amanda looked up at him. "And now you're stuck with me. I'm sorry. I'll leave as soon as..." "You're not leaving." The words hung in the air between them. Amanda blinked. What? You can't leave. Jae-hyuk stood up and walked to the window. His hands went into his pockets. Gareth Cole is a wealthy man. Connected. He owns half the judges in this city and most of the police. If you walk out that door, you'll be back in his house within an hour. He turned to look at her. And he'll kill you. Maybe not right away. But eventually. Then what am I supposed to do? Amanda's voice rose. Just stay here? Become your prisoner instead of his. No. Jae-hyuk's expression didn't change. You stay here and become useful. I don't keep pets, Miss Cole. If you're going to live in my home, you're going to earn it. How? We'll figure that out. He moved toward the door, then paused. There are clothes in the closet. Food in the kitchen. My staff has been instructed to treat you as a guest, not a prisoner. But understand this. He looked back at her, and his eyes were chips of ice. The moment you walked into my club, you became my responsibility. My territory. Gareth Cole thinks he owns you, but he's wrong. His voice dropped. If you stay here, you belong to my world now. And my world is not kind to weakness. I'm not weak, Amanda said. The words surprised even her. Jae-hyuk smiled. It was a small smile, barely there, but it changed his entire face. Good. Because starting tomorrow, I'm going to teach you how to make sure no man ever hurts you again. He left. The door clicked shut behind him. Amanda sat in the enormous bed, in the beautiful room, overlooking the glittering city, and for the first time in 3 years she let herself cry. Not from fear. Not from pain. From relief. The next morning she found out what Jae-hyuk meant by useful. Amanda had spent an hour exploring the penthouse. It was massive, all clean lines and expensive furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows and art that probably cost more than she'd earned in her entire life. The kitchen was bigger than her old apartment. The closet he'd mentioned was actually a room, filled with clothes in her size. New clothes. Someone had gone shopping while she slept. She'd put on jeans and a soft sweater, both of which fit perfectly, and was eating breakfast at the kitchen island when Jae-hyuk appeared. He was in workout clothes. Gray pants, black tank top, and he was sweating slightly, like he'd been exercising. Amanda tried not to stare at the muscles in his arms, the way his tattoos, she hadn't noticed those before, disappeared under his shirt. Come with me, he said. He led her down a hallway, through a door, and into what could only be described as a private gym. Except this gym had a shooting range at one end and weapons mounted on the walls. Amanda stopped in the doorway. What is this? Training. Jae-hyuk picked up a handgun from the counter, checked it with practiced efficiency, and set it down. You said you're not weak. Prove it. I don't know how to. I know. That's why I'm teaching you. He turned to face her. Gareth Cole hurt you because you couldn't stop him. Because you didn't know how. That ends today. For the next 3 hours, Jae-hyuk taught her. How to stand. How to punch without breaking her thumb. How to break someone's grip on her wrist. How to go for vulnerable spots, eyes, throat, groin. He was patient. Clinical. He never touched her without asking first, never grabbed her without warning. Every time he demonstrated a move, he'd say, I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder now. Is that okay? And he'd wait for her to nod before he moved. It was so different from Gareth that Amanda wanted to cry. By the time they finished, she was exhausted and sore, but something inside her felt different. Stronger. Tomorrow, Jae-hyuk said, handing her a water bottle, we'll work on firearms. You need to know how to shoot. Why are you doing this? Amanda asked. The question had been burning in her mind all morning. You don't know me. I'm nobody. Why help me? Jae-hyuk was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I knew someone once. A long time ago. She was in a situation like yours. His jaw tightened. I wasn't strong enough to help her. She died. He looked at Amanda, and something raw flickered in his eyes. I won't make that mistake again. Amanda's chest tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be ready. He started toward the door, then paused. And Amanda? You're not nobody. Stop thinking like a victim. Victims die. Survivors fight. The weeks that followed established a routine that felt surreal in its normalcy. Mornings were training. Jae-hyuk was relentless but never cruel. He pushed her, corrected her form, made her practice until her muscles screamed, but he never raised his voice. Never grabbed her in anger. The first time she successfully put him on the ground during a grappling session, he laughed, actually laughed, and told her she was a natural. Afternoons were quieter. Jae-hyuk would disappear into his office to handle business that Amanda learned to never ask about, and she'd explore the penthouse, or read, or just sit by the windows and watch the city. Sometimes his lieutenant, Co Dae-won, would stop by. He was older than Jae-hyuk, with gray at his temples and eyes that had seen too much. He treated Amanda with polite distance, never quite warm but never hostile either. Evenings were when things got complicated. Because evenings were when Jae-hyuk became almost human. They'd eat dinner together, meals prepared by his private chef, served at the massive dining table that felt ridiculous for just 2 people. At first they ate in silence. But slowly, conversations started to happen. "How did you end up with Gareth Cole?" Jae-hyuk asked one night, cutting into his steak with surgical precision. Amanda took a sip of wine. She'd been drinking more lately. It helped. "I met him at a charity gala. I was working as an event coordinator. He was charming. Successful. He sent flowers. Took me to nice restaurants." She laughed, but it was bitter. "I thought I was so lucky. A rich, handsome man wanted me." When did it start? 3 months after the wedding. The memory made her stomach turn. He got angry that I'd gone to lunch with a male coworker. He grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise and told me I was being disrespectful. Then he apologized. Bought me jewelry. Said he loved me too much, that's why he got jealous. She set down her fork. It got worse from there. Jae-hyuk's knuckles were white around his knife. "I see. What about you?" Amanda asked, because she needed to think about anything else. "How does someone become," she gestured vaguely, "this? A criminal?" Jae-hyuk's lips twitched. "You can say it. I won't be offended." "I was going to say powerful. Same thing in Hanul City." He leaned back in his chair. "My father ran the Black Meridian before me. I grew up in this world. Violence, deals, territory wars. By the time I was 20, I'd seen more death than most people see in a lifetime." His eyes went distant. "I didn't want it. I wanted to be normal. Go to university. Maybe become a lawyer." "What happened?" "My father was killed. Betrayed by his own lieutenant." Jae-hyuk's voice went cold. "I was 23. I had a choice, let the organization fall apart, or take control. So I took control. And I made sure everyone who'd betrayed him paid for it." He looked at her. "I'm not a good man, Amanda. Don't make the mistake of thinking otherwise." "You're good to me," she said quietly. Something shifted in his expression. "You make it easy." The air between them felt suddenly thick. Amanda's pulse kicked up, and she wasn't sure if it was fear or something else entirely. Jae-hyuk stood abruptly. "It's late. You should rest." He left before she could respond. But Amanda sat at that table for a long time, her heart racing, wondering when exactly she'd started feeling safe with a man who killed people for a living. 3 weeks after she'd crashed into his club, Amanda woke up screaming. The nightmare was always the same. Gareth's hands around her throat. His voice in her ear, "You're mine. You'll always be mine. I'll kill you before I let you leave." She was sitting up in bed, gasping for air, when her door opened and Jae-hyuk appeared. He was in pajama pants and nothing else, his hair messy, and he had a gun in his hand. "What happened?" His eyes scanned the room, looking for threats. "Nothing," Amanda managed. "Just a nightmare. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." He was across the room before she finished the sentence. He set the gun on her nightstand and sat on the edge of her bed, and his hand hovered near her shoulder. "Can I?" he asked. She nodded. His hand settled on her shoulder, warm and solid. "Breathe," he said quietly. "You're safe. He's not here. You're safe." Amanda closed her eyes and focused on his voice. On the weight of his hand. on the fact that he'd asked permission even in the middle of the night, even when she was clearly panicking. "Does this happen often?" he asked. "Every night." She opened her eyes. "I'm sorry. You shouldn't have to. Stop apologizing." His thumb brushed her collarbone, a barely there touch. "Trauma isn't something you apologize for. It's something you survive." They sat like that for a long moment. Amanda's breathing steadied. The panic faded. "Thank you," she whispered. Jae-hyuk's hand lingered on her shoulder for one more second, then dropped away. "Try to sleep. And if you can't..." He stood up, grabbed the gun from the nightstand, and set it on the bed beside her. "Safety's on. You know how to use it if you need to." He left. But Amanda noticed he didn't quite close her door all the way. And for the first time in 3 years, she fell back asleep without fear. The next morning, Seo De-won appeared during breakfast with news. "Gareth Cole is getting aggressive," he said, standing in the doorway of the kitchen with his arms crossed. "He's been asking questions. Offering money for information about the woman staying here." Amanda's fork clattered against her plate. "How much?" 5 million won. So far. Daewon's expression was unreadable. He's also hired a private investigator. And he's been making noise about going to the police. Jae-hyuk, who'd been reading something on his phone, didn't even look up. "Let him. The police won't touch this." "He's also attending the Orem Heights charity gala next week," Daewon continued. "Bought a table. He's planning to make a scene. Claims you kidnapped his wife." Now Jae-hyuk looked up. Something dangerous flickered across his face. "Is that so?" "We should lay low," Daewon said. "Avoid confrontation." "No." Jae-hyuk set down his phone. "We go to the gala. Both of us." He looked at Amanda. "It's time Gareth Cole learned what happens when you lose something valuable. You don't get it back." Amanda's heart was pounding. "You want me to face him?" "I want you to show him he has no power over you anymore." Jae-hyuk stood up and walked over to her. "But only if you're ready. I won't force you." Amanda thought about the woman she'd been 3 weeks ago. Broken. Running barefoot through the rain. Then she thought about the woman she was becoming. The one who could shoot a target at 50 meters. The one who'd put Jae-hyuk on the ground during sparring. The one who'd finally learned to sleep without nightmares. "I'm ready," she said. Jae-hyuk smiled. "Good. Because we're going to destroy him." The Orem Heights Charity Gala was the kind of event where fortunes were decided over champagne and small talk. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and floor-length gowns, politicians and businessmen and criminals all mingling together in the grand tradition of Hanul City's elite. Amanda stood at the top of the stairs, her hand resting lightly on Jae-hyuk's arm, and fought the urge to run. The dress he'd had made for her was midnight blue, cut to fit her perfectly, with a neckline that was elegant rather than revealing. Her hair was swept up. She wore diamond earrings that probably cost more than a car. She looked nothing like the woman Gareth had kept locked away. "Breathe," Jae-hyuk murmured. He was devastating in a black tuxedo, every inch the predator in gentleman's clothing. He's at the center table. Third from the left. Don't look directly at him yet. Let him see you first. They descended the stairs together. Conversations paused. Heads turned. And across the ballroom, Gareth Cole saw his wife on the arm of Kang Jae-hyuk. Amanda felt his stare like a physical thing. For a second, just a second, she was back in that penthouse, small and scared and powerless. Then Jae-hyuk's hand covered hers where it rested on his arm. "Steady. An anchor. You're not his anymore," he said quietly. "Remember that." They made their way through the crowd. People greeted Jae-hyuk with careful respect, the kind of respect born from fear rather than admiration. He introduced Amanda simply as, "Ms. Cole, my guest," and something about the way he said it made it clear that she was under his protection. They'd been there 20 minutes when Gareth appeared. He looked exactly the same. Tall, handsome, with perfect teeth and designer everything. The face of a man who'd never been told no. "Amanda," he said, and his voice was ice. "It's time to go home." Jae-hyuk's hand tightened on hers. "I'm sorry, I don't believe we've been introduced." "Kang Jae-hyuk. I know who you are." Gareth's eyes never left Amanda. And I know you're keeping my wife from me. That's illegal. It's kidnapping. Funny, Jae-hyuk said. She walked into my club of her own free will. Running from someone. I wonder who that could have been. Gareth's jaw clenched. Amanda. Now. Something inside Amanda snapped. All the fear, all the anger, all the years of being small and quiet and obedient. It crystallized into something hard and sharp. No, she said. The single word seemed to echo in the sudden quiet around them. Gareth stared at her like she'd grown a second head. What did you say? I said no. Amanda stepped forward, away from Jae-hyuk's protective presence, and faced her husband. I'm not going anywhere with you. I'm not your wife anymore. I'm not your property. I'm done. You don't get to be done, Gareth hissed. His hand shot out to grab her arm. And Amanda caught his wrist. Used the leverage technique Jae-hyuk had taught her. Twisted. Gareth gasped and stumbled back. The entire ballroom was watching now. Don't touch me, Amanda said. Her voice shook, but she didn't back down. Don't ever touch me again. Jae-hyuk moved beside her. His presence was a silent threat. I think the lady made herself clear, Mr. Cole. Gareth's face was purple with rage. You have no idea who you're. Actually, Jae-hyuk interrupted, I have a very clear idea. He gestured, and Co. Daewon appeared with a tablet. Would you like to tell everyone here about your wife's hospital visits? Or should I? He tapped the tablet, and suddenly the massive screens around the ballroom lit up with images. Medical records. Photographs of bruises. Security footage from their building showing Gareth dragging Amanda by her hair. The ballroom erupted into whispers. That's private. Gareth snarled. You can't. I can do whatever I want, Jae-hyuk said softly. Because unlike you, Mr. Cole, when I make someone mine, I protect them. I don't break them. He leaned in, voice dropping to something dangerous. Touch her again and they'll never find your body. Are we clear? Gareth looked around at the staring faces, at the evidence displayed for everyone to see, at Amanda standing tall and unafraid, and for the first time in his life, he looked small. This isn't over, he spat. Yes, Amanda said quietly. It is. Gareth turned and pushed through the crowd. People moved away from him like he was diseased. The screens went dark. Conversation slowly resumed. And Jae-hyuk turned to Amanda with something like pride in his eyes. Well done, he said. Amanda was shaking, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from the sheer adrenaline of finally standing up to the man who'd made her life hell. Can we leave? She asked. Absolutely. They made it back to the penthouse an hour later. Amanda kicked off her heels the moment they walked through the door and paced to the windows, staring out at Hanul City spread below them. Thank you, she said without turning around. For what you did tonight. For everything. She heard him approach. Felt him stop just behind her, close enough that she could feel his warmth but not touching. You did it yourself, Jae-hyuk said. I just gave you the tools. Amanda turned. They were inches apart. His eyes were so dark, his expression so carefully controlled, but she could see something beneath it. Something that looked almost like want. Why? She whispered. Why did you really help me? I told you. No. The truth. Jae-hyuk was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached up, slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Because, he said quietly, the first moment I saw you, broken, bleeding, terrified, I knew that if I let you go, I'd regret it for the rest of my life. His thumb brushed her cheek. Because you grabbed my coat and asked me to pretend, and I realized I didn't want to pretend. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that kiss. Amanda's breath caught. Jae-hyuk. Tell me to leave, he said. Tell me you don't want this and I'll walk away. I'll never touch you. You'll still be safe here, I promise. But Amanda had spent 3 years being told what to do. Being controlled. Being owned. For the first time in her life, she wanted to make her own choice. Don't leave, she whispered. Jae-hyuk's control cracked. He kissed her like a man dying of thirst, his hands framing her face, and Amanda kissed him back with everything she had. This wasn't like the first kiss in the club, desperate, performative. This was real. This was heat and want and something that felt dangerously close to love. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jae-hyuk pressed his forehead to hers. "I need you to be sure," he said. "I need you to know that if we do this, I'm not letting you go. Ever." Amanda smiled. "Good. Because I'm not going anywhere." He carried her to bed, and for the first time in 3 years, Amanda understood what it meant to be touched with tenderness instead of cruelty. The next morning, Amanda woke wrapped in Jae-hyuk's arms, and everything felt right. For exactly 3 days. On the 4th day, she overheard a conversation she wasn't supposed to hear. She'd been looking for Jae-hyuk, he'd left early for a meeting, and found herself near his office. The door was cracked open. Voices drifted out. "Can't keep this up forever." That was CO Day 1. "Gareth Cole is pushing. He's threatening to go public. To expose our operations. Let him try." Jae-hyuk's voice was cold. "He's also offering 30 million. Cash. For her return." Silence. 30 million is a lot of money, boss. Enough to... I don't care about the money. But the contract. Amanda went cold. Contract? The contract was signed before I knew her, Jae-hyuk said. It's void. Legally, it's still binding. If Cole takes this to the other families, if he claims you're refusing to honor a business agreement, then I'll deal with it. By starting a war? For one woman? Day 1. Jae-hyuk's voice dropped to something dangerous. Drop it? But Amanda had already heard enough. She backed away from the door, her heart pounding, her mind racing. Contract. Agreement. Return her. She'd been so stupid. So goddamn stupid. This whole time, she'd thought Jae-hyuk was protecting her. But he'd made a deal. A business transaction. She wasn't his guest. She wasn't his anything. She was just another piece of property being traded between powerful men. Amanda made it back to her room before the panic hit. She grabbed her phone. Jae-hyuk had given her one, untraceable, and stared at it. She had no one to call. No family. No friends who weren't already under Gareth's control. She was alone. Just like she'd always been alone. She had 2 choices. Confront Jae-hyuk and hear whatever lie he'd prepared, or run. She chose to run. Amanda waited until midnight. Until the penthouse was quiet and the guards had changed shifts. She'd learned their patterns over the past month. Learned everything about this place, actually, because that's what survivors did. They paid attention. She took nothing but the clothes on her back and the phone. Left through the service entrance that the staff used. Made it 3 blocks before she realized she had nowhere to go. And 5 blocks before Gareth's men found her. There were 4 of them this time. They came out of nowhere, a van pulling up beside her, hands grabbing her, a cloth pressed over her mouth that smelled chemical and wrong. Amanda fought. Used everything Jae-hyuk had taught her. Got one of them in the throat, another in the groin. But there were too many, and she was alone, and the chemical was making her dizzy. The last thing she heard before everything went dark was Marcus's voice. Mr. Cole is going to be very happy. 30 million won't even cover what we're going to do to that bastard Kong. She woke up in hell. Not literally, but close enough. The room was familiar, the bedroom of Gareth's penthouse, the one she'd shared with him for 3 years. Same silk sheets. Same view of the city. Same cage. Her wrists were zip-tied to the headboard. Gareth was sitting in a chair beside the bed, watching her. Which was worse than angry. Angry Gareth she understood. Calm Gareth was unpredictable. "Welcome home, darling," he said. Amanda's mouth was dry. The chemical they'd used left her head foggy, but fear cut through it fast. "Let me go." "Let you go?" Gareth laughed. It was a terrible sound. "After what you did? After you humiliated me in front of the entire city? After you let that criminal touch you?" He stood up and walked to the bed. "No, Amanda. You don't get to leave. Ever again." His hand shot out and grabbed her face. Squeezed hard enough to bruise. "I own you," he hissed. "I bought you with that ring. Fed you, clothed you, gave you everything. And you thanked me by whoring yourself to the Black Meridian? He released her face and backhanded her. Pain exploded across Amanda's cheek. Blood filled her mouth. I'm going to remind you who you belong to, Gareth said. He started unbuckling his belt. And then I'm going to make sure you can never run again. There's a facility in the countryside. Very private. Very secure. You'll stay there until you learn your place. Amanda's heart was racing. She pulled against the zip ties, but they held. She was trapped. Just like before. Except, not quite like before. Because before, she'd been afraid of Gareth. She'd believed he was powerful. Untouchable. Now she knew better. Now she'd seen real power. And Gareth Cole wasn't it. He's coming for me, Amanda said. Her voice shook, but the words were steady. Jae-hyuk. He's going to find me. Gareth paused. Then he laughed again. Your criminal boyfriend? The one who signed a contract agreeing to return you for 30 million? That Kang Jae-hyuk. He leaned in close. He sold you, darling. Just like I knew he would. Men like him don't love. They trade. The words hit like a physical blow. Because part of Amanda had been wondering the same thing. Had been afraid of the same thing. But then she remembered the way Jae-hyuk had looked at her that last morning. The way he'd held her. The way his voice had cracked just slightly when he'd said, I'm not letting you go. Ever. You're wrong, she whispered. We'll see. Gareth moved toward her again. And every window in the penthouse exploded inward. Glass rained down. Men in black tactical gear swarmed through the openings, rappelling down from the roof. Gunfire erupted. Gareth's security team didn't stand a chance. And through the chaos, through the smoke and noise and violence, came Kang Jae-hyuk. He looked like death itself. Blood on his shirt. A gun in each hand. His face a mask of cold fury. His eyes found Amanda. Scanned her. The zip ties, the blood on her face, Gareth standing over her. Something inhuman flickered across his expression. Get away from her, he said quietly. Gareth grabbed a gun from the nightstand and pressed it to Amanda's head. One more step and I kill her. Jae-hyuk stopped. But his hands didn't lower. You're going to die tonight, Gareth. The only question is whether it's fast or slow. Your choice. I'll kill her. Gareth's hand was shaking. The gun barrel pressed harder against Amanda's temple. I swear to God. No, you won't. Jae-hyuk's voice was absolutely certain. Because you're a coward. Cowards don't pull the trigger. They just hurt people who can't fight back. I'm not a coward. Prove it. Let her go. Fight me. Gareth hesitated. His finger twitched on the trigger. And Amanda made her choice. She threw her weight sideways, off the bed, pulling the headboard with her. The zip ties snapped. The gun went off, a deafening crack, but the bullet went wide. Amanda hit the floor hard. And came up with Gareth's dropped belt in her hands. She'd learned something important from Jae-hyuk. When someone tries to hurt you, you don't hesitate. She looped the belt around Gareth's neck from behind and pulled. Gareth made a choking sound. Dropped the gun. Clawed at the belt. 3 years, Amanda hissed in his ear. 3 years you made me feel worthless. Scared. She pulled tighter. I'm done being scared of you. Gareth's face was turning purple. His struggles were getting weaker. And Jae-hyuk appeared beside them. He gently took the belt from Amanda's hands. I've got him, he said quietly. You don't need to do this. Yes, I do. But Amanda let go. Sebek watched as Jae-hyuk hauled Gareth up by the collar. You had every chance to let her go, Jae-hyuk said. Every opportunity to be a decent human being. You chose violence instead. He looked at Amanda. What do you want me to do with him? It would be so easy to say, kill him. So easy to end this permanently. But Amanda had learned something else from Jae-hyuk. Real power wasn't about violence. It was about choice. The police, she said. All the evidence. The videos. The hospital records. Everything. She looked at Gareth, who was gasping for air. I want him in prison. I want everyone to know what he is. I want him to lose everything. Jae-hyuk smiled. It was a proud smile. Consider it done. He handed Gareth off to his men. They dragged him away, still choking, and Amanda heard him screaming threats all the way down the hall. Then it was just her and Jae-hyuk in the destroyed bedroom. "You came," Amanda whispered. "Of course I came." He crossed to her in 2 strides. His hands hovered near her face, hesitant. "Can I?" She nodded. He touched her so gently. Examined the bruise on her cheek, the blood at her mouth. His jaw clenched. "I'm going to kill him for this." "No." Amanda caught his hand. "He's not worth it. And I need you to promise me something. Anything. Tell me the truth. About the contract." Jae-hyuk closed his eyes. "You heard. Tell me." He opened his eyes and looked at her. "When you first came to my club, Gareth's people approached day 1. Offered money for your return. Standard protocol for disputes involving territory. Day 1 signed an initial agreement before consulting me." His hand tightened on hers. "By the time I found out, I'd already decided you weren't going anywhere. I voided the contract. Told Gareth to go to hell. He tried to use it as leverage, but legally it means nothing now." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm an idiot." Jae-hyuk's voice cracked. "Because I thought I could handle it without you ever knowing. Because I didn't want you to think, even for a second, that I saw you as a transaction." He cupped her face. "You're not property, Amanda. Not to me. Never to me." Amanda searched his eyes. Saw the truth there. The fear. The desperation. "I thought you'd sold me," she whispered. "I would burn this entire city down before I let anyone take you from me." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "When I woke up and you were gone, when I realized you'd run," he stopped. Swallowed hard. "I've never been that afraid in my life. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. No. I'm sorry. For not being honest. For making you feel like you couldn't trust me." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you. I should have said it sooner. I love you so much it terrifies me." Amanda's breath caught. "You love me?" "Since the moment you grabbed my coat and asked me to pretend." He smiled slightly. "Maybe even before that. The second I saw you, broken and bleeding and still brave enough to keep fighting, I was done for." Tears spilled down Amanda's cheeks. Happy tears. Relieved tears. "I love you too. Even though you're a criminal and you scare people and you probably do terrible things I don't want to know about." Jae-hyuk laughed. Actually laughed. "Those are usually considered negatives." "Not to me." She kissed him. Soft and sweet and full of promise. "Take me home." "Already done." He picked her up, just lifted her like she weighed nothing, and carried her out of Gareth's penthouse, past his men who were securing the scene, past the broken glass and evidence of violence, into the night air of Hanul City. Amanda rested her head on his shoulder and thought, this is what safety feels like. Not the absence of danger, but the presence of someone who would fight through hell to find you. The next 6 weeks were a blur of police statements and legal proceedings and media attention. Gareth Cole was arrested and charged with assault, false imprisonment, and a dozen other crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. His lawyers tried everything, but the videos Jae-hyuk had shown at the gala had already gone viral. The trial was set for 6 months away. Gareth's bail was denied. And Amanda started to breathe again. She moved permanently into Jae-hyuk's penthouse. Not as a guest. As his partner. He made that very clear to everyone. His men, his associates, his rivals. Amanda Cole was off limits. She was his. And anyone who touched her would disappear. She went back to training. Got better with firearms. Started learning hand-to-hand combat. Jae-hyuk taught her everything he knew, and she was a dedicated student. But more than that, she started to build a life. She enrolled in online classes. Started working toward a degree in social work. She wanted to help other women like her. Women trapped in situations they couldn't see a way out of. Jae-hyuk supported her completely. Set up a foundation in her name. Funded domestic violence shelters. Used his network to create safe houses for women fleeing abuse. "You're using crime money to help people?" Amanda teased him one morning over breakfast. "That's very Robin Hood of you." "I contain multitudes," Jae-hyuk said dryly. Then, more seriously, "I want to be better. For you. You already are. Life fell into a rhythm. A good rhythm. Morning training sessions. Afternoons studying. Evenings together, talking about everything and nothing. Amanda learned about his business, the parts he was willing to share, anyway. Learned that the Black Meridian wasn't just about violence and territory. They ran legitimate businesses too. Investments. Real estate. Jae-hyuk was slowly transitioning away from the more dangerous aspects of the organization. For you, he told her one night, I want to be someone you can be proud of. I'm already proud of you, she said. You saved my life. In every way a person can be saved. He kissed her then, slow and deep, and Amanda thought, this is what love is supposed to feel like. But nothing good lasts forever. 3 months after Gareth's arrest, Amanda woke up feeling sick. At first she thought it was stress. The trial was approaching. Gareth's lawyers were making noise about her character, claiming she'd been having an affair, that she'd seduced Jae-hyuk as part of some elaborate scheme. It was exhausting. But the nausea persisted. And then came the fatigue. And then Amanda stared at the positive pregnancy test and felt her entire world tilt. She was pregnant. With Jae-hyuk's baby. Terror crashed over her. Not because she didn't want it, she did, desperately, surprisingly. But because of everything it meant. Everything it represented. She'd spent 3 years fighting Gareth's attempts to get her pregnant. Had taken pills in secret, lied, done everything she could to avoid bringing a child into that nightmare. And now she was pregnant with the baby of a crime lord. A man who lived with violence. Who had enemies. Who could be killed at any moment. What kind of life was that for a child? Amanda was still sitting on the bathroom floor, test in hand, when Jae-hyuk found her an hour later. Amanda! His voice was concerned. What's wrong? She held up the test without speaking. Jae-hyuk went very still. His eyes moved from the test to her face and back again. You're pregnant. The word felt huge. Terrifying. I'm pregnant. For a long moment, he didn't move. Didn't speak. Then he dropped to his knees beside her and pulled her into his arms. Okay, he breathed. We're having a baby. Are you happy? Amanda asked. She needed to know. Needed to hear it. Jae-hyuk pulled back and looked at her. His eyes were wet. Happy doesn't cover it. Terrified, deafening. But happy. He cupped her face. Are you? I don't know. Amanda's voice broke. I wanted this with Gareth to be impossible. I fought so hard to make sure it never happened. And now, she stopped. What if I can't do this? What if I'm a terrible mother? What if... Stop. Jae-hyuk's voice was firm but gentle. You're going to be an amazing mother. You're the strongest person I know. And this child. His hand moved to her still flat stomach. This child is going to be loved. Protected. I promise you that. But your life. Your business. The danger. I'll handle it. His jaw set in that determined way she'd come to know. I'm already transitioning out of the dangerous stuff. This just accelerates the timeline. By the time this baby is born, the Black Meridian will be clean. Legitimate. I swear it. That's a big promise. I keep my promises. He kissed her forehead. Do you want to keep it? The baby? Because it's your choice. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. And that was when Amanda knew. Really knew. She wanted this. Wanted a family with this man. Wanted to build something good from all the darkness they'd both survived. Yes, she whispered. I want to keep it. Jae-hyuk smiled. A real smile, soft and genuine and full of wonder. Then we're having a baby. They sat on that bathroom floor for a long time, holding each other, talking about the future. About names and nurseries and what kind of parents they wanted to be. And for the first time since she'd seen those 2 pink lines, Amanda felt hope instead of fear. The pregnancy was complicated by the trial. Gareth's lawyers tried to use it as evidence of her adultery, but Jae-hyuk's legal team shut that down fast. The timeline made it clear the baby had been conceived long after she'd left Gareth. Amanda testified while 4 months pregnant. Stood in that courtroom and told her story, every bruise, every threat, every moment of fear. She didn't cry. Didn't break down. Just stated the facts in a clear, steady voice. Gareth stared at her with hatred, with rage. But Amanda stared back without flinching. Do you have anything to say to the defendant? The prosecutor asked at the end of her testimony. Amanda looked at Gareth one last time. I'm not sorry I left you. I'm sorry I stayed as long as I did. But I'm grateful for one thing. You taught me exactly what kind of man to avoid. And exactly what kind of man to love. She looked at Jae-hyuk in the gallery. Thank you for that lesson. The jury convicted Gareth Cole on all counts. 20 years minimum. Amanda walked out of that courthouse into the sunlight, free for the first time in her life. The baby came on a spring morning, when Hanul City was covered in cherry blossoms and the air smelled like new beginnings. Labor was long and painful and terrifying. Jae-hyuk stayed beside her the entire time, let her squeeze his hand hard enough to bruise, whispered encouragement when she wanted to give up. You can do this, he told her during the worst of it. You survived, Gareth. You survived everything. This is nothing. This is not nothing, Amanda gasped. This is, oh God. Push, the doctor said. One more push. And then suddenly there was crying. High and thin and perfect. It's a girl, the doctor announced. They placed the baby on Amanda's chest, and she looked down at her daughter's tiny, scrunched-up face and fell completely in love. She's perfect, Jae-hyuk breathed. He was crying. Actual tears running down his face. She's so perfect. What should we name her? Amanda asked. They discussed names for months but never settled on anything. Now, holding this tiny person, Amanda knew exactly what her name should be. Hope, she said. Her name is Hope. Jae-hyuk smiled. Hope Kong. I like it. Hope Cole Kong, Amanda corrected. She gets both of us. Hope Cole Kong, Jae-hyuk repeated. He pressed a kiss to Amanda's temple. Our daughter. 3 days later, they brought Hope home to the penthouse. The nursery was ready, soft colors, expensive furniture, every safety feature Jae-hyuk could think of. He'd even installed a panic room with a reinforced door, just in case. Paranoid much? Amanda teased. When it comes to you too. Absolutely. He took Hope from her arms and held her like she was made of glass. Nothing will ever hurt you. I promise. Amanda watched him with their daughter and felt her heart expand. This was her family. This impossible, unlikely, wonderful family. That night, after Hope was asleep in her crib, Jae-hyuk found Amanda standing by the nursery window, looking out at the city. What are you thinking? He asked, sliding his arms around her waist. I'm thinking about how different my life is from a year ago. Amanda leaned back against him. A year ago I was trapped. Running through the rain. And now I'm standing in a nursery with the man I love, looking at our sleeping daughter, and I'm so happy it terrifies me. Jae-hyuk turned her to face him. Don't be terrified. Be happy. You deserve to be happy. So do you. She touched his face. You know that, right? You're not just the criminal who saved me. You're a good man. A good father. A good partner. Something vulnerable flickered in his eyes. I'm trying. You're succeeding. She kissed him softly. Thank you. For everything. For saving me. For loving me. For giving me this life. You saved yourself, Jae-hyuk said. I just gave you the tools. And the safe space to heal. He rested his forehead against hers. As for the rest, loving you is the easiest thing I've ever done. They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other, with their daughter sleeping nearby and the city spread out below them. Amanda thought about the woman she'd been, broken, scared, convinced she'd never be free. And she thought about the woman she'd become, strong, loved, a mother. It had taken running into the devil's arms to find her way to heaven. But she wouldn't change a single moment of it. 2 months later, Jae-hyuk asked her to marry him. It wasn't a grand gesture. No orchestra, no ring and champagne. Just the two of them on the balcony at sunset, Hope sleeping in a carrier against his chest. I want to make this official, he said. I want you to be my wife. Not because of paperwork or tradition, but because I want the world to know that you chose me. That we chose each other. Amanda looked at this man who'd given her everything. Safety, love, a future. This man who'd taught her that protection didn't mean control. That love didn't mean ownership. Yes, she said. 1,000 times yes. They married quietly, a month later, in a small ceremony with just a handful of people. No press. No spectacle. Just vows and love and the beginning of forever. CO Day 1, surprisingly, cried during the ceremony. Boss is going soft, he muttered, wiping his eyes. Good, Amanda told him. We all need a little softness. Their wedding night was spent not in some fancy hotel but in their penthouse, with Hope sleeping between them, and Amanda couldn't imagine anything more perfect. Mrs. Kong, Jae-hyuk murmured against her hair. Has a nice ring to it. Cole Kong, Amanda corrected. I'm keeping my name. The one I chose when I left him. Cole Kong, he agreed. Even better. Life wasn't perfect after that. There were still hard days. Days when Amanda woke from nightmares about Gareth. Days when the past came back to haunt her. But there were more good days than bad. Days filled with Hope's laughter. With building the foundation for abuse survivors. With watching Jae-hyuk transform the Black Meridian into something legitimate. He kept his promise. Slowly, methodically, he transitioned out of the criminal side of things. Invested in real estate. Technology. Clean businesses that didn't require violence. Some of his old associates didn't like it. There were threats. Attempts to pull him back in. But Jae-hyuk was unmovable. I have a daughter, he told them. I have a wife. I have a future. And I'm not risking that for anything. By Hope's first birthday, the Black Meridian was more legitimate business than criminal empire. Jae-hyuk still had connections, still had power, but he wielded it differently now. You really did it, Amanda told him the night of Hope's birthday party. They were cleaning up wrapping paper while Hope slept upstairs, exhausted from celebration. You changed everything. We did it, Jae-hyuk corrected. You made me want to be better. Hope made me need to be better. He pulled her into his arms. I'd do anything for you too. Walk away from everything. Build something new. Whatever it takes. I know. Amanda kissed him. That's why I love you. Years passed. Hope grew. Started walking, talking, becoming her own person. She had Jae-hyuk's dark eyes and Amanda's stubborn determination. They had another child, a son, named James after the brother Jae-hyuk had lost. Then another daughter, unexpected but deeply wanted. The penthouse became a home filled with noise and laughter and love. The kind of home Amanda had never thought she'd have. The kind of home she'd fought for. Sometimes, usually late at night when the children were asleep, Amanda would stand by the windows and look out at Hanul City. At the streets where she'd once run barefoot in the rain. At the district where Gareth's penthouse still stood, empty now, a monument to her survival. And she'd think about that desperate woman who'd crashed through a steel door into an underground club. Who'd grabbed a stranger's coat and begged him to pretend. That woman had been brave. But she hadn't known it yet. Now Amanda knew. Knew that running toward danger to escape worse danger took courage. That asking for help wasn't weakness. That surviving wasn't the same as living, but it was the necessary first step. What are you thinking about? Jae-hyuk asked, appearing beside her with 2 glasses of wine. The past, Amanda said. And how grateful I am for it. Even the bad parts. Because they led me here. Philosophical tonight. I have moments. She took the wine, sipped it. Do you ever regret it? Taking me in that night? Never. His answer was immediate. You're the best decision I ever made. Even when you're annoying. She laughed. I'm not annoying. You reorganized my closet by color. It looks better. You made me watch 3 hours of period dramas. And you loved them. You critique my fighting form. Because I can take you down now and you know it. Jae-hyuk smiled. Set down his glass and pulled her close. You're right. You can take me down. You took me down the moment you looked at me with those scared eyes and asked for help. I've been gone for you ever since. Amanda's throat tightened. I love you. So much. Thank you for being my shelter when I had nowhere else to go. Thank you for teaching me that I could be more than what I was born into. That I could build something good. He kissed her forehead. You didn't just save yourself that night. You saved me too. They stood together, watching the city, while their children slept safe and loved in the rooms behind them. And Amanda thought, this is what healing looks like. Not the absence of scars, but the presence of love strong enough to make the scars worth it. She'd run to the devil for shelter, and found heaven in his arms instead. The rain in Hanul City still doesn't wash anything clean. But sometimes, if you're desperate enough, brave enough, lucky enough, it washes you into exactly where you need to be. Even if that place is through a steel door, into red light and danger, into the arms of a man who teaches you that protection can exist without control. That love can exist without ownership. That you can be safe without being caged. Amanda Kolkong learned all of that on a Thursday night in the rain. And she spent the rest of her life teaching it to others. Women who came through the foundation she built, women who needed to hear that escape was possible. That safety existed. That the devil isn't always who you think he is. Sometimes the devil is the one who saves you from the monster wearing an angel's face. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the devil becomes the love of your life. If you enjoyed this story of survival, transformation, and unexpected love, please take a moment to like this video, drop a comment telling us what you thought, and subscribe for more compelling stories that explore the complicated nature of love and redemption. Your support helps us create more content like this. What would you have done in Amanda's situation? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, there are resources available. You're not alone, and escape is possible. Until next time, stay safe and keep believing in second chances.